Hello guys and welcome to a brand new video. Today I'm here with Kowloon Generic Romance episode number 5 reaction. So the previous episode, quite a few interesting things were revealed. First and foremost, there is a whole doppelganger, not a doppelganger, but like a different version of person living in Kowloon are coming here, and they're like replacing people who always lived here. So the whole situation with Gwen is basically something like that. And I also think that Hebinuma was also someone who came here, replaced the Hebinuma that was living here, because that was also something that those maids were talking about. When Hebinuma was a kid, he suddenly took a huge shift in personality, you know. So, and to prove that, or to check what's going on, Hebinuma brought a clone, I think, of a random person into Kowloon while that person was literally sitting in front of him. And as soon as the new version, the clone, got inside of Kowloon, the person sitting in front of him disappeared. So it's like overwriting in computer. When you overwrite a file, basically that's what's happening. And the similar thing is probably is going on with Kujirai as well. But for Kujirai actually, the Kujirai of this world actually probably died, because that's what everyone is saying, and that's why this new Kujirai kind of merged with the previous Kujirai. At least that's what I think. Something like that probably happened. That's why this new Kujirai shares a lot of memories and a lot of other things with the previous Kujirai. Yeah, and all those things are going on. We kind of saw all of those things happen in the previous episode, and in the end, there was a section where Kudo was like asking about Gwen, and that is also where he revealed that apparently he killed Kujirai. Now I'm assuming this is just like a way of speaking, like, oh, because of me she died. I don't think he directly killed her, but I guess we'll get to know in today's episode. So let's see what happens. Let us begin. I'll be putting the subtitles and the timer here. Sync it to whichever is your preference, and let's get started. Okay, here's the countdown. 3, 2, 1, go. There we go. Okay. Yeah, what? Huh. Well, hmm. Yeah. Okay, you have a lot of, I don't know, like, I, this girl is like, mm, mm. No, I think it was something like he did which resulted in her death, not directly, maybe something like that. Yeah, when she put the pierced. Mm. Okay, well, Hmm. Wait, who's? Oh, okay. Mysteries. Wait, I couldn't read the titles. Hmm. Damn. Yo. She got a bit too much into. Who? Okay. Oh, there's something in there. Oh, that's the. Is that like a engagement ring or something? That what? the- What the hell was that? Right. Hmm. Oh, two volumes. Oh, right. Ah. Wow. Yeah. Damn. Oh, we're here. Oh, wait, what? Yeah. The landing case. Oh. Hmm. Story. What the hell? What kind of code language? Don't spoil it. Stop it! Yeah, but what's up with the that page? So, so that was a misprint? I don't know. I thought that was part of the whole Globetrotter. Oh wow. Unread the. That's true. I don't think she looks at it like that. Yeah, it's a bit different. Her situation. Wow, you're not wrong. Variety show. Hmm. The question. Oh, it's like a. All right, I see. The way she talks. Uh, double eyelids down. So they can do this. What? Ah. Wow. He's doing counseling as well. Yeah. Bro, what are you? Yeah, why are you doing this live on camera? I. Good lord. Why are they brushing a snake? What the hell is this? Living a life something. Nah, I think it's she herself has a lot of things. What is that? Oh, does she? Okay. So she knows this person? Or is that like her previous self before plastic surgery? Because you know, oh, it's her. That girl, I think. So that was her previous self. Yep. Before plastic surgery. Hmm. Oh boy. They're after me. Wait, so someone's. Oh, yeah. Her past. Okay. Yep, that was her. So. Damn, they look similar. That's why she was talking about. It was if there's a lot of if something is given to her, then her original self will be overwritten. So her mother wanted her to continue her work or whatever and try to make her look as much as she. Yep. And that's why she got a plastic surgery. Oh, zirconia, yeah. So like that. Yeah. Yeah. Wait, what? I'm confused. Didn't she say that she got what? Why is her? Trying to turn the fake you into the real you. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, there you go. I was thinking like, how did her so she was looking at herself as like that. Hmm. Zirconia? Yep. What the hell? Where did he come out from? Still short pants and What the hell is this music? Oh, is this his father? Yep, I knew it. Otherwise, who the hell would even talk to him like this? In phone. Oh, something from the past again? Is this where they get engaged? When they get engaged? Oh, the picture. This is where I think Gwen takes a picture as well. Oh yeah, she's used to say taking eating watermelon and then smoking. Yep, there you go. Same thing. Kujirai A also said. Okay. All right. So it probably happens later. The picture and the engagement. I thought it was going to happen now. Mm. Kowloon. Okay. Damn, he's getting the dreams again. Whoa. What the? Oh, he's come to meet his dad? Oh boy. Wait, so is this the scene we're seeing when Gwen came in? Yeah, what is going on here? Okay. This show confuses me every single episode. What the hell is happening? Like, you know what? Let's just keep watching. I feel like if I like try to decipher what's going on every single episode, I will probably go crazy because I just like you see like the final section when they come out from the car. It's like all nice buildings, like big buildings and everything, and the taxi driver was like, oh, like we're going to Kowloon, what even is there? And he was like, oh, do people like Gwen said something like, where's that part? um Mister, are you really going to Kowloon? There's nothing there for you to see. And he's like, I'm sure that's true for some. And we can see all these like intact, nice buildings. And he takes the luggage. Hmm. Yeah, he's on his way towards Kowloon. And the driver is like watching, and he's seeing that everything's just broken. While to him, everything is like, yeah. So the vision of the intact buildings and everything, I think that is something that Gwen was seeing, while um, the taxi driver is like looking at this like destroyed place. Oh, okay. This also kind of coincides with, if you remember, in the very first episode, there was a scene where Kujirai was like in that cafe and in the diner, and when she was remembering or when she realized that like there's another version of her, there was a scene where they showed the diner or the bar, not diner, sorry, the bar, in a broken state, like as if everything was destroyed, like a post-apocalyptic type of setting it was showing. So okay, you know what, here's another thing that I'm thinking now. Maybe to different people, maybe for people in Kowloon, what they are seeing is different from people outside Kowloon who, I don't know, who they're seeing it in a different way. Maybe that's why Gwen goes in, and I like they were showing that scene with like all intact buildings, and then like like we transition to like a different type of a scene where we see like everything's like broken down. So maybe Gwen was seeing it like that, and the other now. My question is, do these people know, like for example Gwen, Hebinuma, do they know like this is what's going on? Because I don't think Kudo or Kujirai, they have probably no idea like something like this is happening. But I don't know, I feel like Hebinuma might know a lot of things that is going on with this city. He seems like the type of person who knows a lot of things. Same with Gwen, because Gwen also came from outside the city, I'm assuming. You know so he should know, right? And that last scene, one thing I don't understand about the last scene, um which is, does Gwen like, oh, I see, okay. For a moment I was like, Gwen was already here, right? So why is he coming again? No. I realized Gwen and Hebnuma went out of Kulon, I think, for a moment. Because they were having that TV show and all that, like, and they were like in a very fancy place. I'm guessing that was like his place, his house or something, his mansion. And if you go back to that scene, when they were talking about the book about different parts of the world, when Kujirai was talking about that, the next scene that we see is a scene of like a 21st century, modern, uh like a city. Like there's like big skyscrapers, like, which is completely different from Kulon. There's like, you can see like a yacht, you can see like some big skyscrapers, some big buildings, and stuff. And like it's like 21st century modern, metropolitan city or something like that. That was definitely not Kulon. And we see that Hebinuma and Gwen are over there, and they're doing this whole TV show and everything. So they went out of Kulon for a while, I'm assuming. And that's why Gwen is coming back again. And the driver was like, "Oh, what even there is in Kulon?" And he's like, to different people, yeah, why not see it? Okay, so yeah, today's episode I can not say that I have come to a conclusion, but I will say there's a part of me that after watching that final scene is thinking that Kowloon is a place where people's perception of Kowloon is something completely different than what it is in reality. Like in reality, it's like a broken down, destroyed building, like a place. But everyone else who's living there, they look at it in a different way. They look at it as like a thriving, like a place, a lot of people like having fun and everything, something like that. Now, here's another thing I'm thinking now, which is that if that's the case, a lot of things that we're seeing in Kowloon might not actually be real. Like all these buildings and everything. If that's the state of Kowloon, the place where Kujirai lives, the place where Kudo lives, what about those places though? Are they all broken down places, and are they living in broken down places but they're looking at it in a different way? Like, what's going on here? Like, seriously. Or are the buildings where they're living in are actually intact buildings? Like, you can see there were a few intact buildings over there, but looking at it, it's like broken. Half of the buildings are broken down and destroyed. So, you know, and this is also making me remember of a certain thing that they mentioned in one of the previous episodes. Apparently, Kowloon was broken down, demolished, and it was rebuilt again by the people. If you remember, they said something like that. I think Kujirai B said something like that to Kudo, and Kudo says that to Kujirai A. So, if what we saw today in the end was real, it's pretty. I'm assuming that it's real. The whole destroyed building and everything. If those destroyed buildings and everything are real, then I would say maybe the reconstruction never happened. Maybe they just destroyed Kowloon and that was it. And now people who live here, they, I don't know, maybe they're like in some kind of a, like something weird is going on. Like, because they're like the way every character up until now, what we've seen of Kowloon is like, yeah, the places, the buildings, they are a bit, like a little bit probably, like, what can I say, like, not like how we saw, like, the city, not like that, like clean, tidy, like, like big buildings, like, look, not like that. But like the buildings were a little bit like, like broken down, a little bit, like, as you can see, like the water was like dropping from the top, like all those things. It's a little bit ancient, but still it is habitable. It's like a habitable, like, like a place. And this is what I was also saying in one of the previous episodes, that looking at Kowloon, I can understand why they call it nostalgic, because it looks like a place which has a lot of history behind it. Like, a lot of people live there. The place where Kujirai probably lives, like maybe like at least 5 to 10 people lived there before. Like, like generations after generations, like people lived there, and it has like a source of nostalgia to it. Looking at Kowloon, you can feel that. And yeah, so even though that was the case, even though it wasn't as big, clean, beautiful, like, like a modern, like a city, even if Kowloon is not like that, it is a city which is habitable. But what we saw today was like half of the buildings are broken down. Like, a few of the buildings are probably habitable, but most of it aren't, from the looks of it. So, if that is the reality of Kowloon, where the hell are these people living? Like, all these people that are living there are real people, I'm assuming. Like, where are they living if these buildings are all broken down and everything? Like, okay, so yeah, that's like my biggest question that I have now. Yeah, so, and I think like the perception of reality for Kowloon at least are different for different people. Like, people who live outside Kowloon probably know Kowloon as a broken down, destroyed place. While people who come in Kowloon, they're living in this place and it's like something else completely. It's like people are looking at it in a different way. So, or they're seeing everything like completely differently. Like, their perception of Kowloon is so Yeah. Anyways, that is that's what's going on, or it seems like that's what's going on. We don't know what's going on. Like every single episode is like something new. Other than that, today's episode was basically Yame related. We get to know more about Yame and why she is always like stressing on the fact about her new self and all that. We get to know the real reason behind it. So apparently, her mother wanted Yame to be just like her, like exactly like her, look exactly like her, like got everything for her, like made her hair style as herself, the makeup, the accessories that she wore was everything just her mother used to just pick it for her so that she could look exactly like her. I'm assuming she wanted her daughter to continue with her job, and keep going, something like that it was. While obviously that made Yame or Yame's real personality, her real likes and dislikes just completely not matter because her mother used to just force everything on her and be like, oh, you do this, you do that. And she used to obey it at up until a certain point where she obviously couldn't handle it. And I'm assuming she ran away and got a plastic surgery. And then she has come here and she's like trying to live her life, which she wants for herself, not what someone else gave her. So that is why she always stresses on, you know, the real self, the new self. But I've said this in one of the previous episodes before. Even though her situation is like this, or it at that point, obviously, I had no idea what her situation was. But today we know. But back then, I said that, as for my understanding, her situation and Reiko's situations are completely different. She Yao wants to be her true self, doesn't want to be her previous self. She wants to get away from that. While Reiko wants to know about her previous self. This Kujirai Reiko B that she hears about. She wants to know that person, understand herself, and understand Kudo, as she says in today's episode. And that is why in the end Yame was like, oh, you're being greedy, and like, but then in the end they were like, yeah, but living life in itself, means, like, it's greedy in itself. Like living, like, in itself has so many things where you have to be greedy. So that is like the essence of life. But yeah, that is basically the difference between Yame and Kujirai. So you cannot put Yame's thought or what she wants on Kujirai because it won't work. Kujirai's situation is different. The first biggest difference is like the fact that she has no understanding about her past self. That's why she wants to know. You know, Unlike Yame, who didn't like her past self because it was something that was forced upon her. That's why she wants to leave that behind and be the self that she wants. So that is different from Kujirai's situation. So like Yame, you could see was always like trying to, even in the beginning part of today's episode, she was like trying to say like, oh no, why are you even trying to like understand what Kujirai B was like. Isn't she like your rival? Isn't she someone that you want to surpass or something? And Kujirai was like, no, that not necessarily. I just want to know about her more. That's it. Like, yeah, I want to know about her and I want to understand like herself and myself. Yeah, so that is like the basic difference. And you could see that in the end, when Kujirai talked to her and told her that, yeah, like, just be like what you want to be now. Just be that. Even if you are trying to be someone who you're not, because as Yame said, that the Yame that you were seeing up until now was something that was trying to be. And Kujera is like, it's fine, like, like, if you want to be someone, go ahead, because that's, at the end of the day, that's something that we all have in common. We try to become our ideal selves. Like every single person wants that, in some degree or the other. Unless and until you're content with yourself, you want to be that ideal self. And to get to that ideal self, different people do different things. Like, maybe you go to the gym. Maybe you go and I don't know, do some kind of like like a beauty parlor to do your hair, do your and these are like superficial things. Internally, you also do a lot of things to become your ideal self, like follow certain habits, like maybe get a certain job to get a certain lifestyle. Like, oh, I want to, I want this thing, so that's why I want to do something like this. Everything, everyone, like that is literally what life is like. To reach your ideal self where you can be content with yourself, we do so many things, like, yeah. And she was also doing the same. So trying to be your ideal self doesn't really mean that you are, you're faking yourself. No. And that's literally what Kujirai, in a way, Kujirai kind of told her that, yeah, like, I'm also trying to become my ideal self. That's why I'm trying to understand, like Kujirai Reiko B. And you are also trying that. So it doesn't matter if you are not the person that you are showing yourself to be, but because you're trying to become that person. So yeah, do it. And in the end, like she understood and she like hugged her. And at the end, you can see where she was like, the earring, that part where she was like, oh, what do you want to wear? And in the end, Yaume was happy about the fact that she could now like take decisions herself and not try to be this person forcefully, but be this person that she actually wants to be. That is her ideal self. And in the end, she got that earring that she herself chose and she herself liked, not to fit into like a certain, like, like a mold, but because she just liked it herself. you know that's it. Yeah. So yeah, that was very interesting. And you can say that, like Yaume's situation is kind of interesting because she had like two phases to her understanding herself. Obviously, the first phase was basically when she was forced to like dress up like her mother, do stuff that her mother did, wear accessories and makeup, or make her hair just like her mother used to do, because her mother forced it on her, and her mother tried to make her into someone like her. So that was like the first thing, which obviously she didn't like at all. So she tried to get away from it. And now we come to the second stage where she tries to become someone with what she wants. And to get away from her previous self, she tries to like completely look away from her past and pick things that are like completely opposite to it, just because of the fact that she wants to get away from it. Like, you can say that she was forcefully like trying to fit into a certain mold so that she doesn't have to go back to her previous self. And you could say that, yeah, that is something that she's doing with her own, like, obviously with her own permission. Like, there's nobody forcing her to do that. But at the same time, it was her past that still had its shackles on her. And that is why she was trying to become her true self, because she had to become that. Not because she wants to, but because she wants to run away from her past. So you could say that is also in some sort, that is also in one way her being shackled to the past, because she's trying to get away from her past. She's deliberately trying to be someone who has no resemblance to her past. So yeah, she was still shackled to her past, and this was the second stage that we saw, like she was going through in these couple of episodes. She wasn't truly free even then. But now, after today's episode, after all that happened, now she's truly free, you could say. You know, because now she's like, yes, I'm just going to be someone because I want to. I'm not going to try to be someone because I want to run away from my past. You know. So yeah, that is different. So yeah, now she's truly free, you could say. So that was good. Okay. Right, so that was Yaume's situation. Now we also had a little bit of Hebinuma today, where Hebinuma got pissed off at that guy who was like acting smart, and like kicked him when that guy was like, oh, like you were just given everything, like I came here from like all that stuff. And Hebinuma was like, yeah, okay, like like you imbecile, like you and your smooth brain will not understand Like, you will not understand the disadvantages that also come with when someone literally gives you everything and tells you to do, like, like, yeah. So it's not all sunshine and rainbows that, oh, I was given this position, so everything must be good. So, it's all not all sunshine and rainbows. Each situation has its own set of troubles and problems that comes with it. Like we might think that, oh, we are unfortunate because we don't have this, or we don't have this amount of money, or we don't have this amount of privileges. But then those people that have those things, they have their own set of problems which come with that. And you know yeah, so I feel like at the end of the day, every single person in this world, be it, like, like, be it from wherever they come from, or whatever life they're leading, each have their own set of troubles. Yeah, some people have it by a huge amount, some people probably have it by a very less amount, that differs. But I wouldn't say, like, like, nobody has, like, I wouldn't say there's a single person in this world who has no problems. That is impossible, unless you're like a saint, or you're like someone who is, like, like a different, has reached a different realm of, like, a living being. Like, you're literally like someone who got enlightened. If you're able to do that, then you probably don't have any problem, because you have that level of, like, yeah, understanding of life and yourself. Like, that is something else completely. But like, every single person in this world have their own set of troubles. Some have it by a huge amount, some have it by a minuscule amount, but they still have it. That's the thing. And that's literally what Hebinuma was saying. He was like, yeah, you think, like, I was given all of this, so I'm all, like, happy and everything is, like, working perfectly in my life? Like, you fool. It just kicks in and he falls down. And that part was bad. So later on, he gets called by his father, and his dad was like, oh, come, I have to talk to you. And yeah, now we'll see what happens after this. Okay. Oh, another thing. Kudo, I forgot to talk about him, because we didn't really have that many scenes with him today. But there was one particular scene today, which was, no, two scenes, I would say. The first scene, very first scene, where he was saying, like, oh, I killed Reiko. What would you do if I say I killed Reiko? Now, I think that was just her way of speaking. Maybe something he did or something he didn't do, maybe somehow that resulted in Reiko's death. So I don't think in particularly he killed Reiko, like, directly, but maybe something happened and he blames it on himself, which maybe we'll get to know later. You know. And then we had the final scene. Now, this scene is very interesting. You can see he sees like a dream. In this dream, he's, like, with Reiko, and that scene with Reiko eating the watermelon and smoking cigarette. Gwen saying, like, oh, you two are very, like, matching each other, like this and that. And then Gwen says, like, oh, you are very much in love with Kowloon. And he was like, what? And then something weird happens. He gets up. He was, like, having a panic attack. And the earthquake, it starts happening. Which has been happening for quite a while. You can see. So, right. Now, there's one thing I'm thinking. You know what? I'll refrain from saying anything, because I'm still not sure about it. But I feel like, I don't know if this has any connection, but the earthquakes, if you think about it, it started happening after Kudo, because from the day from when Kudo started getting lack of sleep. The reason why I'm saying this is because that day we also had that earthquake, and in the final scene, this is what makes me a little bit bothered, is the timing. When Kudo gets up, shocked, like, because of the dream, and he's, like, screaming, that's when the earthquake happens. And I'm assuming the previous day when we saw him, he's, like, bags under the eyes, he probably got a same dream like that, and he, like, woke up, and that day we also had an earthquake. Like, I'm thinking because of the final scene where maybe the perception of the people makes how Kowloon is, because that's what we saw, right? In the end, people from outside Kowloon sees Kowloon as a broken down, destroyed place, while people living in Kowloon sees it as like a place like where there's like buildings are all intact and everything. So if Kowloon's like the way Kowloon is, if it depends on how people perceive it to be, maybe it is also the way people are, like maybe their mental state also reflects the way Kowloon is. That's why when Kudo got up from a nightmare, there was like an earthquake. But then my question is, shouldn't he be the only one feeling the earthquake? Why did Reiko feel the earthquake as well? And I'm sure everyone got to feel the earthquake. That's the one part that I'm not understanding, because if it is like the people's perception of Kowloon that dictates how Kowloon is, does this mean that every person's collective perception of Kowloon? No, but then that would make no sense, because if every person's collective perception of Kowloon dictates how Kowloon is, then everyone who gets a nightmare will probably have, like, then there will be like earthquakes every single day, right? Yeah, so I'm not under, this is the part that I'm not understanding, is that, but I feel like it has something to do with the state of mind of the people living here, and that's why exactly when Kudo woke up from the nightmare, the earthquake started happening. Back then, when Kudo and Reiko didn't get enough sleep, the earthquake, that was also the earthquake was also happening then. You know, yeah. So maybe it has to do with something with, because like Kudo had that dream. That's why Kowloon's like his perception of Kowloon is like breaking apart, and like it's like, I don't know. I feel like we still need a few more clues to understand what's going on. But I feel like this whole perception of Kowloon thing is very important here. Like how people see this Kowloon is not how it actually is. Then the people living here, they live here like normal, like people like lives in, like a normal city. They look at this as a normal like Kowloon city. But then it's like a broken down place, and everyone like like there's like so many questions. Anyways, yeah, another episode, and another information that makes no sense for now, at least. Or you could say like these are all puzzle pieces that each episode is given us, which will probably all join together at the end to make a perfect picture as to what's going on in this world. Yeah, and everything that is happening in Kowloon. You could see like Heavenly and everyone, like they went outside Kowloon. Like that was like I don't think that anything's happening outside. Everything is like surrounding Kowloon. So yeah, interesting. All right, there you go. That was it. That was my overall impressions for today's episode. Okay, now I'm just going to go through this episode quickly. I need to end this video a little bit quick today. I'm not going to go do the scene by scene discussion in a lengthy manner like I usually do. I'm just going to see if I missed anything and if there's anything worthy of discussion. So let me look at this episode and see if I missed anything and talk about the scene by scene. Yeah, so okay, the first part is that section where Kudo says like, oh, what if I killed Kujira? But like I said, I think like this is more of a this is more of a, like, because he did something, maybe something happened to Kuji and that's why he blames himself kind of situation. I don't know. And there's one thing that Kudo said here is like, not Kudo, but Reiko says, here we go. He says, but it is true that she no longer exists in this world. And that is why Reiko says that then I'm sure you don't want to forget about her. Yeah, and when he looked at her, he looked in a certain way that he looked before at her as well. And then we get to that part where Reiko talks to Yaume, and Yaume is like, oh, he definitely killed her. And I'm like, come on, like, really? Yeah. Either way, this is where Reiko kind of, like, remembers about how Kudo looked when he got the earring, she got the piercing, or he thought that she got a piercing, the way he looked at that time. And Kujirai is like, this is the first time, this is probably like an expression that only I have seen, and it is special to me. So like she's kind of thinking about that. Okay, and then we get to see, next scene, we get to see Kujirai is has found ring. Okay, that ring, that never got brought up after that. I guess we'll get to know about it more about it later. But that ring, I'm guessing that was like an engagement ring or something. She found, and then she also got to see a few of the books that Kujirai B used to read. It was like mystery books. So she reads one volume of it, and she wants to get to know more about it. That's why she asks Kudo if there's a bookstore, and they go to the bookstore along with Yame. Yame is pretty hostile towards Kudo, and then in this bookstore you can see she finds the book, and Kudo was there was an interesting thing about the book, which is um like the book, like the writing was like all scrambled. So she's like, what the hell is this? Is this misprint? Anyways, but Kudo was going to literally spoil the whole book for her, but she's like, no, don't spoil it. You know. Okay. Then Kudo also gets Kujirai also gets a book about traveling the world, and this is where you can see Kudo again tries to like kind of like force her, not force her, you could say, but he's like, oh, like what do you even want that for? This is like in Kowloon. And because she remembered the other Kujirai was only interested in Kowloon. So, and this is a thing, like even though Kudo says like, oh, you're not Kujirai, like he doesn't see her like that, like unconsciously, whenever she sees Kujirai acting like Kujirai B would never act, he always gets this thing within him where he gets afraid, where he thinks that he's going to lose the Kujirai that is finally in front of him again. Like he already lost her once, so so even though he himself says like, oh no, you're not the same Kujirai, it's like an unconscious thing where he always tries to like tell Kujirai A and try to refrain her from doing things that Kujirai B never did, like lemon chicken, for example, and this whole thing, a lot of other things. So it's like something that happens unconsciously within him. Anyways, Yame gets pissed off. Yame's like, what the hell? Like, she wants to read it, let her read it. And he's like, okay, fine, man. Like man. Okay, anyways, and then after that, we also had that section with, Hebinuma, where Hebinuma goes to do the thing when they're like selling beauty products, and we had this guy say some bad stuff to him, and he gets pissed off and just kicks him. Right. And they were like all watching this, and this is where we come across Yame's past, where they get like the ticket for like that concert, and she's like, oh, should we watch it? But Yame's like, no, I don't want to. Kujirai watched that show, and then when you could see that like I said this in the in the overall discussion section. What Yame was trying to do is, she still wasn't free at this point, even though she thought she was free. She was trying to be someone else because she has to get away from the past. That is why whenever there's something that would remind her of her past, she is trying to like keep it away from her. So a big proof of that is this scene where she goes to the fabric shop, and she was like, oh, this dress is pretty nice. And then Kujirai is like, oh yeah, this dress, that actress wore that. And she's immediately like, oh no, I don't like this, like I'm trying to get away from her, but she's again coming to my life, and she like keeps that away and runs away. So this part, you can see clearly she liked it, and that was her free self thinking that, oh, I like it. But because it is something that is connected to her past, she forcefully takes tries to get that away from her and runs away from it. So you could say what she is trying to be free, but at the same time her past is shackling her down in such a way where whenever there's something remotely related to her past life, even if she likes it, she's trying to just stay away from it because that would remain. So she's still being shackled by her past. She's not truly free at the in the truest sense, in this part. And that's what's happening. So she runs away from there. Later on, we get to know about her past, about how her mother wanted her to be her, you know, everything that was she wore, every accessory, every hairstyle, everything was something that her mother picked for her, and she lost her individual self. And there was a point of time when she hated that and she wanted to run away from that, and so she did. She ran away from it. She got a plastic surgery. She ran away from it, and she's actively trying to avoid everything from her past life. You know, so yeah. Now, while all of this is going on, uh, when Kujira tries to talk to her, she's like, "Oh no, you won't understand. You don't even have a past." So Kujira talks to Kudo about it, and Kudo's like, "Oh, if that's the case, then just talk to her normally. Like if you don't have like any kind of since you don't have any past and since you cannot understand what she's thinking about, just talk to her then. Like that's the only thing that you can do." And she's like, "Okay." And yeah, and she goes there. She talks to her, and you can see Yame tells her that, oh, what you have seen up until now is something that what I was is my ideal self and I'm trying to become. But in the truest sense, I was just running away. So what I'm trying to be, what you've been seeing up until now is my attempt at being my true self. At which Kuja is like, it's fine. Like everyone has their ideal self. Everyone wants to be someone. Like even me, even though don't have a past, I have someone like an ideal self that I want to become. So like so it's fine. Like keep doing that. Here we go. This part. Okay. She says like like I remember what you said like where you said that, oh, the zirconia, like what you how you try to or how you find the spark of a fake thing as beautiful as the true ones, something like that. What's that part? There we go. You said that you saw genuine sparkles in the fake ones. Yeah. Was that also a lie? And she's like, no, that wasn't a lie. And she goes and like hugs her, and she's like, I will try to be my absolute self too. So yeah, now like I said, in the you can see when they go to buy like the earrings, this time she like buys something that she really wants. Now it doesn't matter if it's connected to her past or not. If she likes it, she's going to buy it. Now that is what it is. That is what true freedom is. You're not shackled by anything. It doesn't matter like if you like something that is connected to your past. If you like it, you like it. That's it. Like you don't have to actively try to get away from your past, because that's literally shows that the past has a hold of its own on you. So you could say that she was able to reach that state currently, and she's truly free in a sense. In the truest sense, she's actually free now. So yeah, there you go. And you can see in the end, Reiko also says like looks at Kudo and says like, oh, you're the one I like as well. And then we get to see the Hebinuma talking to his father, and his father was like, oh, I want to talk to you, come. And then we see like the little dream that Kudo is seeing about Reiko, and this is where we see Reiko used to eat watermelon and smoke, which is something that the current Reiko also does. you know so yeah. And then she leaves, and Mark was like, oh, like like she's a good girl. And he says like, yeah, like first when I was transferred here, I was like, god damn it, why am I getting transferred to Kowloon? But it must have been fate. And this is where he says like, oh, then you must really love Kowloon. Kudo-san, I think you're totally in love with Kowloon. And he's like, huh? Yeah. And okay, so, and this is the part which bothers me, because it still didn't bother me. Like, he wakes up, and then we get the earthquake. Then, this part where we get to see where Mark comes back to Kowloon, and the driver was like, oh, like, why are you even coming here? What even is here? And he's like, oh, like, to people who can really see it, yeah, Kowloon is something else. And he goes in, and we can see, like, at first it was like all the buildings were there, and then it's like all broken down. So this is where we get to know this probably has to do something with people's perception of Kowloon. But this is the part which struck me, because if you go back to Kudo's part, you know, what Mark said in the dream, now that I'm thinking about it, I think that has a deeper meaning behind it. he says like, oh, you're totally in love with Kowloon. Now what does this mean? Again, if you have to remember perception. So since she loves Reiko and Reiko loved Kowloon, automatically he loves Kowloon as well, because in a way, like, you love something that, like, Reiko, like, he loves it because Reiko also loved it, and he could see, he could appreciate that as well. So now that Reiko is no more, Reiko B, Kujirai Reiko B, like, you can see how much her words and everything affected him, and how much he, like, does everything that Reiko used to do and appreciates everything that Reiko used to appreciate. So Reiko's love for the different things for Kowloon is something that she shared because of his love for her. It's like it became like a mutual thing, because he loved Reiko and Reiko loved Kowloon. It's like a mutual love. Like, he started loving Kowloon himself as well, and it also reminded him of Reiko. So that is also the reason why he loves Kowloon this much. So, because now we know that this Kowloon has something to do with people's perception of it, you know, and what Mark said in the end, that, oh, you really love Kowloon, right? Like, yeah, I think, like, I don't know, like, it definitely has something, like, the way Kowloon is, it definitely has something to do with Kudo's way of looking at Kowloon, because Kudo loves Kowloon so much, like, Kowloon is like this. But at the same time, what about this is my question, what about the other people that are living here? They also look at the Kowloon in the same way, right? Is that why? Oh yeah, you know what? I do remember Kudo also mentioned this. Like, every person living here has like a mutual share, like, mutual love for Kowloon. So maybe just like how Kudo loves Kowloon, other people also loves Kowloon because of some other reason, maybe. And that is why this is how Kowloon, like, appears to all these people. So what if there's someone in this place who doesn't love Kowloon? Does Kowloon? No, I think there's probably not no one like that in this place. You know why? Because everyone who comes here, and even Mark, you could say in the end, Mark probably loves Kowloon and, like, stays here because of Hebinuma. Like, and then I don't know about Hebinuma. Maybe Hebinuma has something that he loves about Kowloon, or something that, like, fascinates him about this place. So one thing I think I can probably say, or I can probably guess, is that every single person living here has a shared love for Kowloon, and that's why Kowloon appears like this too in front of them. It's not only Kudo. But then there's another thing. I think that earthquake has something to do with Kudo nightmares. Like, maybe his perception of Kowloon kind of got, because he himself got kind of startled for a moment. Um, but then that would mean, wouldn't every single person living here, if they have a nightmare, wouldn't they have earthquakes then? But that's not what happens. So that's the part that is bothering me. I don't understand that part still. But I'm pretty much sure, like, every single person living here has a mutual love for Kowloon, and that's why Kowloon, in front of them, Kowloon is like this. And even though that's probably not what Kowloon is like in reality Kowloon is like this broken down, like a place, like, with all buildings, like, falling apart and everything. But people living here, every single person has this some way they love Kowloon. That is why Kowloon is like this to them. you know yeah, and the biggest proof for that is, like, because, like, you can see how Kudo loves Kowloon now because of Reiko's, you know because Reiko loved Kowloon so much, and he loved Reiko, he started appreciating Kowloon himself. Kowloon also probably reminds him of Kujirai Reiko as well, and, like, it's like a source of nostalgia, as he says. So that is why, because he loves Kowloon this much, he is like Kowloon is like appearing like this in front of him, even though that's probably not the case in reality as well. You know. Yeah. Anyways, I you know what? Let's wait and see. Next episode we'll probably get another information which is going to blow our mind. I don't know. That's how it's going every single episode. So let's see. So that was it. Another great episode. The mystery becomes more and more interesting. So yeah, let's see. So that is it. That was my reaction to episode number 5 of Kowloon Generic Romance. If you guys enjoyed this video, be sure to press the like button, subscribe if you're new to the channel, or you haven't subscribed, comment down below anything you want to say, anything you want to let me know. I'll check them out. And that is it. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next week with another episode of Kowloon Generic Romance. Until then, goodbye and have a nice day.